Welcome back, my lovely friends. This is video 3 of 3 car videos for our Saturday the 10th of June sale here at Manor Park Classics. I've just had my lunch, so I'm full of beans. And without further ado, I'm going to steam in to one of my favourite lots. This is great. This is going to be the first lot through, the first car lot through. So they know what you're saying. Sometimes people haven't woken up. You could come and bid on this. I love it. It's a 1984 Volkswagen Beetle. And the sharp-eyed amongst you will notice 1984 cannot be a European one because they stopped making those in the 70s. This is a Mexican one. And what's interesting is, the Mexican cars are made basically to the same design and very similar to the European ones. This one's got a factory roof, which is very cool. You get weird differences, like you get the ribbed number plate light on a Mexican one. They are made from slightly thinner steel, and they aren't corrosion protected, but because they spend their early days in Mexico, in some ways they can be much nicer cars. This one, in all the places where Beetles go, like quarter bottoms, hasn't gone. You've got surface rust on things like the wings, but do you know what? Where it matters, this car has very, very good bones, and there's no reserve. The interior is good. They're just a brilliant little classic, and I love the fact it's got a roof. You can buy the Mexican cars normally for less than the German cars, which is silly because in some ways they can be a better car. All those taxi drivers can't be wrong. So first lot through, no reserve, could be a bargain. I might have a cheeky bid on that because I like it. And I like this one very much too, 1974, no reserve. Bit of a Cal look custom thing, loving the two-tone. They've gone all in on this and they've really made it work. Another car on MP8 spokes. It's showing 35,000 miles. I'd imagine that's round the clock or reset. But again, a no reserve car. Loads of extras. It's stanced really nicely. Inside, you've got some seats, look a bit like Alfa seats to me. Nice reproduction Nardi wheel. They've even continued the two-tone through, and it's been very well done. This could probably benefit from a bit of a polish and a mop. It's a bit of an eyeful, isn't it? I don't think you'll pay a huge amount of money for that, but I do think you can have an enormous amount of fun. And I like the mods they've done, so they've de-trimmed it in the classic cowl look style. They've taken the side trim off. They've smoothed out the vents. It's got cowl look rubbers on it. I've got a lot of time for this. I would drive that and own that in a heartbeat. And at no reserve, you could too, for less money than you might think. Moving through to this. Can never go wrong with the 109, can you? Lot number 100. A smartly presented Land Rover of 1978 vintage. And I have to say, the paint is very, very nice on this. 70,000 miles, manual, matching good years, freewheeling hubs, new Exmoor hood, which is not a cheap item at all. New seats fitted, which are very, very nice. If Elliot can squeeze in there and show you. Great bulkhead doors, chassis and rear crossmember, and it's got the correct 2.5 engine as well. I like this very much. Now I know everyone goes mad for the shorter Land Rovers, they're the ones that fetch all the money, but if you're a taller person, I actually think the 109 is a nice car to drive. That longer wheelbase rides better. I personally think the proportions of the 109 are nicer than the shorter stuff, so for my money, I would have that. And if it's your money, somewhere between 10 and 12, should buy it. Nice, usable, practical classic. Moving on to this. We welcome back this lovely 420G, and we all know the G stands for gangster, because look at it. What a stance. Very nice car in very nice colour combination. This one, 76,000 miles. It's a 1970 420G. Recent massive refurbishment, lots of service history. It's got its Jaguar certificate. And if Elliot just wanders around here and looks at the magnificent, any word to use, interior, drives really well, this car. And they have so much presence, don't they? The Mark 10s and the 420Gs, they're just a big old bus. But even by modern standards, this is a big car. And look at that. I'm going to invite you, look, to look in the back here. I'm going to open this for Elliot and let him look inside. This is like a sofa, look. It's huge, absolutely huge. Now, I don't care how posh or well-to-do you are. You're telling me you're going to sit in the back there with your champagne on your tray table and not feel very, very special. But, dear friends, the price of entry to this very exclusive club, between 10 and 12,000. So, need not be prohibitively expensive, even though you will feel like $1 million. Walking through to this, we've got the Rover 1984. 3.5 litre this one, EFI, got some cool mods on it. It's got a very funky steering wheel, I like that very much. Good spec, fresh MOT, it's got the Vitesse alloys on it as well, and Vitesse front spoiler. It isn't a Vitesse, I will point that out. It's got a lot of bits off one, which is probably the next best thing. Because it's not a Vitesse, it's going to be a lot cheaper. Solid car this, it's got a few little blebs and bits and pieces on the paint. It is not perfect, but what it is sound and mostly there. Missing a mirror cap, it's a budget for that. Interior is very good, I have to say. Let me open the door for Elliot so you can have a look inside. It's got some slightly dubious brush painted trim there. You might want to put that back. But with a fresh MOT, what do we always say, guys? Just buy it, drive it, enjoy it, restore it as you go. Yeah, that's pleasant, very pleasant, that. I think as well, these big Rovers, if you've never driven one, they're a good wafty barge, and also they make a great noise with an automatic gearbox and 3.5 litre Rover up front. You won't go far wrong there. Moving on to this, as a kid, in 1990, I wanted one of these so badly. P100 1990, this one's done 18,000 miles, which I would imagine has been, do you reckon that's been around the clock? Let's have a look, it looks very nice. A few little dents and bits and pieces. The interior is very good in it. Very good, actually. So showing 18,000 miles, I would imagine, treat that as 118,000 miles, guys. It is straight. It's had paint, this has all been painted if you look. So it's been painted reasonably over the odd little chip and mark. So it's a commercial vehicle. It's obviously been used and enjoyed all of its life. But where they go rotten and horrible, this one's actually quite nice. 4.5 to 5 grand should buy that, I would have thought. Tidy interior. It's got the load cover on the back as well. It's got tow bar on electrics. These are normally absolutely battered and corroded to bits. This one isn't. Again, just enjoy it as it is. You could actually use that. It's a very usable classic in the true sense of the word. You can fill the back up full of stuff and take it to the tip. Or restore it and make it really lovely. But that's a good basis for either, I would say. Now, we've had a lot of interest in this. And as Elliot walks around, you can see why. This is a 1982 Land Rover 109 fire appliance. I love all Land Rovers, they're all impeccably brilliant, but there's something about one that worked for a living I just think has that little extra layer of attraction. Great example of a former working vehicle, 31,000, which I'd imagine is correct because we didn't do loads of miles with these, they just came out when something was on fire. And it's just level, it's just dead straight. We've had a lot of people look at this. It's going a bit bubbly on the bottoms of the doors. Tiny bit, look, in some of the places. Little cauliflowers here and there, but all there, super sound. And I do think, looking around it, you know, that is the genuine mileage. And all these wonderful little things, look, all there, the original speakers put in. You've got things like the height written on the dashboard. You can just see this has gone almost like a time capsule from when it was being used in service to today. And it won't cost you a huge amount of money to buy that. £8,000 or £9,000 for all that fun. And should you ever be near a fire or should your house catch fire, you can put it out yourself. So for that reason alone, it's worth having. How about a matching pair? There's the Land Rover. If you prefer the German look, I've expressed before my true love for this period of transit with dual rear tyres. I just think they look very muscular. If you look, you've got this lovely wide arch on the back, really cool nose on these as well. This one has done 11,000 miles, that is all. The weird thing about this, if this was just a standard transit and not a Fire, it would be cheaper. Sorry, this is cheaper than the standard transit, sorry, because believe it or not, the standard ones fetch more money, the Fire ones fetch less. So this will only be probably 8 to 9. If this was a non-Fire transit, I reckon more like 15. So a great way of getting into one, you could keep it like it is, but have a look inside, look. If you want to see something that's not been anywhere or done anything, obviously wherever this was posted, I don't think they had many fires. Look at that, it's like brand new. So it's got the original 2-litre Pinto engine, won't be the fastest. Original service booklet, matching set of Michelins on it as well. It's still got all of its ladders and bits and pieces. It was driven here 66 miles. It is really, really straight. The bodywork is exceptional. I don't know if you've ever looked at what the costs are of restoring a Transit of this period. You can get a lot of the panels for them. It just wouldn't be worth it. I would start with this. Left-hand drive, and you know my feelings on left-hand drive. Sit on the wrong side, get a better vehicle. That's lovely, really lovely. Bentley's still going through their bargain period. It cannot continue, people. The lottery winner spec, that is the 1986 Bentley Turbo R in a classic colour combination. It's green over tan, which anyone will tell you is just the money combination. This one has done 83,000 miles, but there's a clock change, so please be aware of that and have a look through the history. Beautiful colour, long MOT with no advisories, went straight through its last MOT, this one as well. The mileage is higher, but not ridiculous, and it's got a great set of books. You can see the leather is worn, but not terrible. Because with these Bentleys, a lot of people will recolonise or repaint the leather, because don't forget all leather is painted, because you don't get many cars this colour. But that hasn't been done. So what I like about that is completely original, and that patina and wear is exactly what the car has got. And it's all very genuine, authentic. If you look, there's just a few bits. It's had some poor paint there. There's a few chips on the back edge. She's had a little bit of paint here and there, for sure. So that's original. Bit of paint on the roof, bit of paint on the door. She's not perfect, but what she is exceptionally presentable and extraordinarily cheap. Don't forget, so it sailed through its last MOT with no advisories. It's got a long MOT, and it's between 5 and 6 grand. Find me any car anywhere in the world that looks as nice as that for 6 grand. I'd be amazed if you could. Now these, just let me give you an example of these. It wasn't 2 minutes ago that these were 5 grand. These are now 15 to 16, and they're 5 grand. You can do the maths for yourself, can't you? Give it, I don't know, 7, 8 years, they'll be 15, these will be 30. So if you can still get yourself into one of these, a 1975 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, really nice. And again, this is one of those cars, buy the best one you can, because the difference between a poor one and a good one will save you an absolute fortune. £8,000 has been spent on this car, 8,000 within the last 12 months, which means you don't have to. 16 stamps in the book, recent recommissioning, including new tyres, engine service and flexible lines. But look at the interior. Look at this, look. I would buy that just for the interior. Lamb's wool rugs. It's got the proper kick plates in there as well. And history files going back to the early 80s. Like I said, this is a really lovely colour, really nice looking car. I love the fact it's a Shadow 1, which is kind of, I think, the slightly purer shape. And I prefer the bumpers on a Shadow 1 as well. Wood's nice. Adore the door hinge. But you could put yourself into that car for 18 grand, and it's just had 8 grand spent on it. All the things that these need and all the things these have to have just been done. So there's no such thing as a no questions old Rolls Royce, but I would say you could probably get a year or 2 out of that without really spending any money, apart from at your local Shell station, who you will get to know on first name terms. This is also particularly pleasant. Love a 420 SE. I think one of the best colours Mercedes ever did. I'm going to be honest with you guys, the paint on this is a little bit mismatched. We've got a few different colour panels here. Goes a bit Josephy around here. So it's had some paint, it will definitely need some paint. And for that reason, it's going to be a less expensive, beautiful 90s Mercedes. But they use the phrase hewn from granite, don't they? When they were talking about Mercedes from the late 80s, early 90s. They will never make a Mercedes like this again. They just made them almost regardless of cost. Obviously, they made a profit on the car, but the way that everything from the trim to the interior, to the materials that they use, to the way they put them together during this period is Mercedes at its zenith. And that's why they wear so well and they drive so well. Even with mileage on, this one's done 95,000. It's had the same owner for 20 years, only has 2 former keepers, it's got 25 stamps in the book, and it's driven 40 miles here with no issues at all. This will be an inexpensive car. This will be 4.5 to 5.5 grand. And like I keep saying today, we've got quite a few of these cars. Just enjoy it for what it is. And then as and when your budget allows, sort your paintwork out. Like I said, there's a little bit of mopping to do. There's a few scratches and lacquer peel on the roof. These are details, my friends. They all will want doing at some point, but that will not stop your enjoyment of the car in the meantime. And were that to be immaculate, that's more like a 10 grand car. So buy it for half of that and have some fun sorting it out. If you own a body shop and you've always wanted one, I have just found your car for you. One of my great loves in life, great loves, is buying JDM import cars. I'll tell you for why. If you can find a right-hand drive Japanese domestic market import of your favourite European car, you'll probably buy the best spec you can ever get, because they got much nicer cars than we did. You'll be sitting on the right side, but unlike dear old England, they don't use salt on the roads in Japan. What they use is like a pressurised mineral water. Google it, it's awesome to see the little nozzles pop up and clear all the ice. So it means when you buy a JDM car, whatever it is, even if it's 20 years old, when it comes over here, underneath, it is like new. And this is a lovely car because it's an import spec, 94, 280 estate. It's been rust-proof as well, so it's come over from Japan, it's been rust-proofed underneath. So this will be, I think, bodily and from a chassis perspective, much nicer than buying the equivalent English car, but you're still sitting on the right-hand side. Great factory spec. It's done 57,000 miles. That's the other reason to get a car from Japan. They generally don't do the mileage that we do because the road system is quite clogged up. It's in the colour you want to make. It's in the two-tone silver grey. E-Class estate is just the most beautiful old money car. Practical classics, cars you can use every day, cars you can take the family and the dog in. It's this car estimated at 5 to 6 grand. I think you will struggle to tool about in an old money, more classless car than that. That car works anywhere, in any social setting, at any price range or social economic group. I have a lot of love for that, and underneath is as nice as on top. Bit of a bargain, that one. A Jaguar Sovereign. I love this shape. This, to me, these XJs, these last of the classic kind of Lions-inspired shapes, are my favourites. I've got a 300 and a 308. This is the 308. It's the Sovereign. It's got a leaper on the front, but you'll notice at the back, it's the long wheelbase. You've got your 4-litre V8, the classic engine. It's only done 68,000 miles. It's a very lovely colour combination. But look through to the back. Look at the legroom in the long wheelbase. It is a true limo. And this will not be an expensive car, ladies and gentlemen. This would be somewhere between £4,000 and £5,000, plus your commission for a car that's done 68,000 miles with a V8, which is such a robust motor on these. And I really am struggling to fault it. The bodyworks, I'm going to give it an 8. Little cauliflower on the A-pillar there, and what normally causes that is a naughty windscreen fitter at some point in the past has put a windscreen in, caught the paint, and it's corroded. So sort that out. So you need to get the screen out and do the A-pillar sooner rather than later. But other than that, she is good. The interior, I am giving a straight 9. The interior is very, very nice. 4 to 5 grand, drives beautifully as you would expect, with a great history, 2 previous owners on that one. Moving on to, where she is, there you go, look. SLs, these are getting very expensive. See what this says? 500, zoom in on that L. If you're gonna get an SL, get one with a massive engine. That's the best one, the SL 500. What I like about this car is it's going to be cheap, ladies and gentlemen. It is by no means perfect, but don't make me think it's not a nice car. It's actually a very nice car and a very good colour. It's got the hardtop with it as well. It's had a lot of money spent recently. There's a few little details to sort. There's a little bit of trim to do on the roll bar on the top there, but she's all there, ladies and gents. And I think you can have a lot of fun driving that round. These are such good news at the moment. Look at the previous SL, and obviously the Pagoda before that. They're massively driving prices up. And this 90s SL, which is perhaps more relevant from the market point of view to a lot of us, is starting to get there. It needs a bit of money spent on the interior. It needs a bit of money spent tidying up and doing little details, but it's got the best engine, makes the most beautiful noise. They are genuinely quick. They're a proper little muscle car, these, and you could buy that for a very sensible amount of money. No reserve on that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Moving through to this, you did see at our last auction, Kurt from Fast and Funded broke the European record for a Porsche 944 Turbo. This is going to be more of a bargain. That car was a nut and bolt rebuild. This one is just exceptionally nice. Left-hand drive, 107,000 miles, really, really nice colour combination. So you've got the white exterior, which is in lovely condition. And let me open the door to a world of burgundy for you here, look. Look at that. Whoa. I had a 944 with exactly the same colour interior. Very of its time, isn't it? Now, I like the left-hand drive, and what do I always say about left-hand drive, guys? Generally cheaper to buy, generally from a nicer country, and certainly easier to come out of when you come to sell, because all of France and Germany will buy your hand off to sell this. Loads of invoices, service book starts up to 118,000 miles, and you've got a factory roof, which is nice. This is straight, you know, guys. The wheels are really good, the body's really good. I would like to find garage space for that. The spoiler's good on these as well. The screen is really good because you can't get the screens on these. So you have to always check for the delamination. This does not have it. Yeah, that is particularly pleasant. It's got my favourite door handles on as well. This area up with the Porsche inside. It's the one that everybody wants. Moving on to an Auntie Rover. Let me find my Auntie Rover. Where is she? There she is. There. 1964 Rover P4 Saloon. Aren't these just so charming? And again, I think people are starting to realise what a lovely car these are now. It's been with the current owner for 37 years with 2 former keepers, got the heritage certificate, got a lot of lovely original patinated paint, and specified from the factory with a radio and bucket seats and a rear speaker. The engine bay is in really nice condition. It's also run the rally class in the past as well, so it's got sort of show history as well. Loads of work, all documented. And I say with the same owner for 37 years. So you've got a car that's got real provenance. Now these actually, I mean, these used to be quite inexpensive, but this, because they are such a good usable car and they bowl along at really quite sensible motorway speeds, 8 to 9, maybe top could be 11 on that. Let's see what the day gives us. Very interesting car and a very nice colour combination. And it's the return of this rather beautiful car. I was upset this didn't sell last time because it is a very nice car. 1961 Vauxhall Velox PA. Our little bit of Americana here in Luton in the UK. Beautiful styling on these as well. UK home market supplied car, believed to be one of only 16 left in the UK, with a detailed service book from all the way between 61 and 75. It's 2.6 six-cylinder. I just love them because you don't see them. And it is all the best bits of driving an American car, but on the right-hand side. Lovely two-tone blue, original Hills registration plates, and not an expensive car. If you want to do proms or just have some fun, really nice family classic this, and you'll get a lot of love and ways if you drive one of these. You could purchase that car, ladies and gents, for somewhere between about 8.5 and 9.5 grand. And while she's not perfect, she's exceptionally presentable and very usable. And she will bowl along happily at 60, 65 miles an hour, and you will look very groovy while you drive it. So I have a huge amount of love for that. 8.5, 9.5 grand if you want to put that on your drive, and I heartily recommend that you do. MGB rubber bumper. Perhaps the most accessible way into reliable and fun British sports car motoring. There is a reason that they sold so many of these. It's because they're just great fun, really usable, easy to maintain, all the things we say about MGBs. This is an 81, so it's getting near the end of the run for these. It's saying 13,000 miles, which I would imagine is a speedo reset, or it's gone round the clock. Interior is very nice. Presents very well, it's a great colour combination. This is so late 70s, early 80s, this orange, isn't it? And it's the original colour. It's on a set of very nice mini lights with decent tyres. 3 to 4 grand. What can you buy for 3 to 4 grand? 10 packs of layer pack at current prices, or an MGB Roadster. I like that a lot. Rubber bumpers aren't to everyone's taste, but they are very usable. If you're parking in modern traffic, rubber bumper gets you out of all sorts. And there are backdates. If you want to do a backdate to get a chrome bumper car, that's actually relatively straightforward to do. There are kits that allow you to do that. But I'll just enjoy it as it is. Just inexpensive fun that, as I say, you can service on any high street garage. Lovely price range Porsche here, 1990 S2 convertible. I've had a couple of these. They're a really nice car, these. Very easy to drive. This one's done 173,000 miles, which for a maintained Porsche really is nothing. It's azure blue, which is not common. It was originally the Porsche press car, this one. So I'm sure if you did a bit of diligence, if you searched about the place, you would find, I would imagine, there must be press articles and reviews with this car in it. If you could find that, if you could do the hard work, you might add a little bit of value to this car. Loads of invoices and documents, cam belt change in 2022, which is the first question you ask on a 944. This one's been done, and the inner and outer sills and lower wings have both been recently replaced. So it's a great car. It's not immaculate. I would spend, if it were mine, I'd probably spend 300-400 quid just getting all the paintwork corrected, and then you'd have a really lovely car. But with the higher mileage, with the fact it needs a tiny bit of detailing, you could buy that for 7 or 8 grand. So a very cheap way to drive around it in a genuine Porsche soft top this summer. Now I adore this, 72 Karman gear, Volkswagen. It's got a fully restored 1641 engine in it, showing 21,000 miles. I think it's a California import, this one. It's got the replica Fuchsion, which are really nice. Heated front seats. What's that all about? Somebody's upgraded those, that's not standard. Heated front seats, apparently. It's a bit posh, isn't it? It's got a nice MP3 player and a motor litre in it. It's got the original plug wells on the sills intact, which is not normal. It's had recent discs and drums all around, replacement window rubbers. Somebody's loved this. This is not your normal kind of import California car that needs loads of work. A lot of stuff's been done. These trims are very desirable as well. These are expensive, these trim kits with the chrome plates on each of those, the individual ones. Just nice level thing. I like it on the impact bumpers as well. A later gear, really usable and very nice to drive. You could buy that somewhere between 15 and 17. I reckon we'll take that home. Lovely thing. Another 944 S2, we've got two. Really like the colour on this. Slightly lower mileage, 149,000 on this one. 28 stamps in the book. That private plate comes with it as well, you can have that. And it's got a full book pack. It's all there, leather interior, it's blue with blue. Nice upgraded stereo, in lovely condition this, I have to say. Very straight and level. Not much to do on this one, guys, really. 7 to 8 grand would buy you this. And same as with the other one. Just, I had two of these. I really regret selling them. And they're just a lovely thing. You've got sort of seats in the back, so if you've got kids or very small people that you like to hang out with, they can go in the back. The roof is very simple and easy to use on these. It's a half decent sized boot. And again, they're a bit easier to live with and a bit easier to run and cheaper to run being a 4-cylinder car than the 911. So if you haven't had a Porsche before, you're looking for a gateway drug into Porsche ownership, 944 S2 cab is a great way to get into it. Another price range convertible that's a lot of fun. 2007 Mercedes-Benz SLK 280, this one. So the smaller engine, but still an awful lot of fun. This one has done 93,000 miles and it is automatic. Original factory spec, presents and drives very well. New matching tyres, and of course in the colour that you want. You want a Mercedes in silver, don't you? The bodywork is very good on this. I'm going to have a little look round for you because you can't be here at this point. The paintwork is very, very nice, guys, I have to say. Paintwork is good. Interior is very good. Paintwork is very good, actually. What I love about these, the only thing I can fault it on really, the tiniest bit of clouding on the headlights. To spend 50 quid on a headlight restore kit, you would have a very, very nice car there. That's going to be between 3.5 and 4.5 grand. That will not be an expensive car. It will feel expensive when you drive it, but you can buy it for probably 4-ish, something like that. Have a look at the video online. It's a very nice car. It's got some history with it too. And I say at 93,000 miles, it's not a huge amount of money, that one, for what is a very lovely thing. Moving backwards to this, I like this a lot. MX5 Unos, so it is the Japanese spec, which being a detail nerd, if you come around the back, I prefer Unos anyway because they're a much better spec than an MX5. But come around here, look. This is what I think looks better. I think the Jap spec cars with the square plates, I think the tail looks nicer. I think because you've got that little bit of body between the back lights, I think they're a more attractive car. You always get a nicer spec with the Japanese cars. You often get diffs in these as well. It's done 151,000 miles. It's had 3 keepers since 2002, which is when it came over. Had a full bodywork resto in 2021. It's had new arches, new sills. It's had suspension overhaul in 2021. It's had power steering upgrades as well. New discs, disc protectors, new hoses, new seats, new carpets. It's had the engine pressure tested, new radiator, new belts, new clutch. Had £1,300 spent last year, and there's over 5 grand's worth of recent bits on a car that you can buy for, have a guess, somewhere between 4 and 5 grand. So again, one of those lovely cars where someone's done all the hard work for you, done some very nice paintwork, put it on the later Mark II alloys, new brakes, you can see the brakes are like brand new, new seats, new interior. Because a snotty one of these is 2 grand now, really snotty, horrible one. This is very far from that, and this is 4 to 5 grand with 5 grand's worth of bills. You could do the maths, good people. Buy a car like this, buy a car where someone's had all the headache and hard work and you can just drive it around. Very, very nice car in a lovely colour combination. And I do like the later wheels. These are off an NB and they really suit it. I like that very much. On to the 2002 Alfa Romeo GTA. So this is the 3.2 V6, of course the engine you want in an Alfa. Come and have a look at this interior and tell me that you don't want it. Look at this, look. So manual, of course. This is screaming all the right bits, and this is absolutely shouting future classic. So 83,000 miles, it's a manual, very, very rare Super Saloon these, in I think the best colour. I know they say you should have an Alfa in red, have it in the blue. Great history, so UK supply car, this one. When do you see them? When do you see any of them at all? You don't see many 156s, but you see even fewer GTAs, and of course you get this much nicer, deeper body kit, the lower suspension, the V6, the cloverleaf alloys. Wonderful. But just imagine for a second if this was an equivalent German product, if this was an M series product from the early noughties, how much that would be. And you could buy that for somewhere between 8.5 and 9.5 grand. I just think that represents a potential bargain. Well, we've got a tiny, tiny little dimple dent there. Getting very, very anal now. Very light swirling, but the bodywork is impeccable on this, I have to say. That one dent, probably a little bit of a mop and correct. Yeah, spend 200, 300 quid on it, you would have a minter, an absolute minter. That's a nice car. I would like that. Right. Onto one of my other favourite lots in the sale. You know this is a Subaru, you know it's an STI, you know it's a Hawkeye, but this is a model that many of you may not know about. This is the Spec D. When we think of Subaru, we think of Conor McRae, Richard Burns. This was very much from the Richard Burns era, this one. So cars like the RB320, which is all big wings, big wheels, are great, but for some Subaru customers, or some potential Subaru customers, they were a little bit shouty. So Subaru UK had the very clever idea of the Spec D. Now the Spec D, the idea of that was, if you've come from, say, a BMW or another sporting saloon like an Alfa, and you want something that's a bit under the radar, that's fast as you like, but subtle, understated, all the things that I'm not. So if you look inside, they have these really lovely bespoke leather interior that Subaru UK had done for them. Low level rear wing. So this is, make no mistake, this is a very, very fast motor car, but it's designed to look like a more run-of-the-mill Subaru. So this one has done 44,000 miles. It's a manual car, it's original condition, one previous owner, and it has been serviced every year for the last 17 years. Have a look in there. It's very, very classy. Now I do think these will become very collectible because they didn't make very many at all. And this one is completely unmessed with, because some of them got modified, and the whole point of this car was, it was all you needed out of the box. It was just lovely to look at, flew under the radar, but then stomped on a lot of very expensive cars. That's special. I'll tell you how cool these are. My dad bought one of these, because he liked the Subaru, but he wanted to be a bit more subtle. Great car. 14,000 to 16,000, and as I say, 44,000 miles. I think you'll struggle to find any Subaru of this age on that mileage. That's great. On to the Alpena. I've got a lot of love for Alpenas. We have Sytner in Nottingham, near where I live. Of course, they are Alpena UK. What I always love about them is the level of engineering. If you don't know much about Alpena, you might be thinking, well, it's just a set of wheels and a body kit. If you actually look at what they do, they completely re-engineer the mechanics and driveline of the car. It's a lot more than just stickers and wheels and rims and a bit of suspension. It's worth looking into this. This is a 2000 B3 3.3. They're just, again, going back to the Spec D, in some ways I much prefer an Alpena to an M product because it's a bit more subtle. If it was mine, I would put the calipers and wheels back to the standard colours, and I think you would then have a real Q car here. It's all the detailing, things like the steering wheel, the stitching around the centre console. You can see where all the money goes on an Alpena. This one's done 77,000 miles, one former keeper. It's just had a lot of money spent on it with a marque specialist, and it is a very high spec. Alpenas have to be good news. Reason being is, BMW's actually bought the brand now and bought it in-house, and it will now become BMW's electric car range. So I do think people looking at the Alpena marque, all of the petrol cars, all of the iconic cars will go up in value because there will be no more. I think that's a potentially very good buy and a very usable modern classic as well. On to, where is she? There she is. Look at this. The CL600. Now this is a Mercedes-Benz Club trophy-winning car. It's also magazine featured, this one. It's done 85,000 miles. As you know, this is the flagship. This was Mercedes-Benz as a tour de force to say to other manufacturers, this is all the technology that we can put into a motor car. And my word, did they show it off well. It's won awards, it's won magazine features this. It's a huge original factory specification, and everything works as well in a really rare and lovely colour combination. Tiny bit of corrosion around the sunroof. If you're going to keep this car looking as nice as this, you're going to have to spend a tiny bit on the bodywork, and I think it is worth it because the car's so nice. Wonderful cars. They're just not a huge amount of money. When you think this was literally the flagship in the range when it was launched, you could buy this car on Saturday for somewhere between £8,000 and £9,000. And there is no way, there's nothing you can waft in. When these work, which is most of the time, there is nothing better. Really, just look inside. Look at the opulence and the luxury in there. You will feel very, very special driving that. And in theory, if you looked after it, that could be your daily driver. And it goes very, very, very fast as well. Moving on to another effortlessly elegant old money car, the SEC. 420 SEC, one former keeper, 104,000 miles on this one. And it's the first owner kept it for 36 years, not 26 years. There's only 73 of these badges left. And it drove here perfectly and effortlessly, I understand as well. It's been resprayed to an excellent standard, and it's had a colour change. So I don't know what the original colour was, but I have to say, it looks absolutely amazing in black. It just looks like business. This car just screams business. If you were a successful mid-80s executive, this is what you would have driven. It's got the tints. That's either your thing or not. I am a tint fan. I would leave those on. But if not, they will just peel off. Really nice, straight level car. It's had bodywork, it's been painted, it's been colour changed, it's been done very, very well. 9 to 11 grand that one, with 104,000 miles on the clock. Now this, Nissan Figaro, so cute. Just as you know, underneath there is a little Nissan Micra with a 1 litre turbo. So mechanically, not a difficult car to look after, as long as you get one that's got all the good trim and has had money spent. And this one has had a lot of money spent. So extensive engine work in 2018, new timing belt, water pump, skim face, seat valves, radiator recall, big end bearings. So £2,000 spent 4 years ago. New rear arches and painted this year to the sum of 1,500 quid. There are bills to probably what the car will fetch. Another one of those amazing cars where somebody has kindly done all the hard work so you don't have to, and you can just jump in and enjoy it and continue to improve it as you drive along. This will be £4,000 to £5,000. They're a wonderful collectible thing. If you want a classic car, but you don't want to jump into the full classic car, so 90s cars are wonderful because this looks like a 50s car and drives like a 90s car. Got a little crack in the windscreen there, so I think you just need to budget for a new screen there. Relatively easy to get for these. And it's all there. And I say lots of money spent, thousands and thousands, and we've got all the bills for that. So do go onto the website, have a look at the bill pack, or if you're here in person, we'll pull the file for you, and you can go through and see what a bargain that car is. On to, here she is. Bit of good news. We were talking about the Z3M earlier in the first or second video. This, I think, represents the real bargain of the roadster range at the moment. This is the 1997 Z3 2.8. So you're getting almost the same amounts of fun, but for a lot less money. So you're getting the chunky wide arches, 65,000 miles. It's a manual, it's a great colour. Probably could do with a little bit of mopping and correction. Like all red cars, it's just starting to oxidise a little bit. This car would really benefit. If you've got 300-400 quid to spend on a professional detail and valet and correction, I think you would transform this car. It's already very nice, the mileage is very good, the history is very decent. 4 to 5 grand, don't forget Z3M is probably 20. This is 4 to 5, but it's still a 2.8 with sexy arches. That's cheap, I think. And I think you could polish in a grand's worth of value with 300 or 400 quid's worth of work, so I would buy that. A lot of fun for the summer. Moving on to this is just exceptionally nice and needs nothing. If I wasn't paying my VAT bill this month, I'd like to put Mrs. Cowland in this. This is a 2004 BMW 318 Ci SE convertible with 24,000 miles. What can I say? Just have a look at this, Elliot. Just do a little spin around this. As you see this on the telly, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what it is. The leather is as nice as it appears. The paint is as nice as it appears. 2 former keepers, had the current owner for 16 years, matching Bridgestones, dealer plates, heated seats, which is really nice on a cab to have as well. All book packs and bits and pieces. Just good news. These cars at the moment, we were talking about E46s earlier, they are just about to go ballistic. Everybody's realised that they are the sweet spot between the kind of the classic BMW styling, but the everyday usability, and they haven't been lots of money. This one you'll get for 5 to 6 grand, which when you think it's done 24,000 miles, it's not even running. It is like a new car almost. Tiny bit of swirling on the paint. Again, 200-300 quid on a really, really top-end paint correction on this, you would have a pristine motor car. It is so hard to fault. The tiniest bit of light curbing on that wheel, and that's about it. I'm really cribbing now, guys. That's a level car. I would very much like to own that one. Moving on to another nice convertible behind me, the 1992 Volkswagen Golf Rivage. So GTI Rivage convertible is a very desirable thing. Beautiful condition and spec, this one. It's on 111,000 miles. We reckon there's 133 left of these, and it's lovely. Have a look inside there. It was driven here 25 miles. It's got an upgraded sound system, new Yokohamas on it, original dealer plate, and the interior is like new, isn't it? The Volkswagens do wear the miles very well, but that one has done 111 with very decent history. Drives beautifully, this. Nice easy hood to use on these two. Money in the bank, and you can drive around in the sunshine, looking good and feeling better. One of my favourite cars of all time, 1979 450 SEL, the L standing for long, which means you've got so much legroom in the back. Elliot, come and see the legroom in the back. It's beautiful. It oozes class and effortless elegance. This car is MOT exempt. Can you believe that now? 1979, loads of paperwork tracking the car's life. Drives really well. It's got the original Becker cassette in as well, which I think is fabulous. But all the legroom in the world, this car. There you go. The doors not opening. You get the idea. It's big. Interior is fabulous. Now these aren't cheap anymore, guys. I'm afraid you missed the boat there. Tiny little bit of bodywork to do. on the sunroof. It's just starting to corrode around the edge, so do budget for that. The rest of the bodywork is very nice. Colour's lovely on this as well. 15 to 17 on that. I think that's cooler than a Bentley. Do you think that's cooler than a Bentley? I think it could be, you know. I think it looks like you're trying less hard. Those that know, if you turn up in an SCL S-Class, everybody knows you're OG. Behind me, this fabulous little Midget. There you go. What can I tell you about this? It's a 78 Midget, so again, it's everything exempt, MOT exempt, ULEZ exempt, drive it into London, beat the system, road style wheels, rear roll bar, fully operational roof. It's had a new interior, which is rather pleasant as well, and it had a full engine and carb tune in 2017. So it starts on the button, drives really, really well. The roll bar is not a bad thing if you want to drive quickly and sportily. Paintwork, the lacquer, it's had a good paint job, but then the lacquer, if you just look there, the lacquer isn't the greatest. So you could wet flat that through, you know. I think that would come up to be quite a nice paint job. So the paint is good, but not perfect. You are going to have to spend, if you like your cars to be pristine, you can spend a bit of money on that, but you have to remember this car is no reserve. This car is going to be inexpensive and you set the price. That's a lovely thing. Now this belongs to my good friend, Drew Pritchard. This is Drew. This is why we love him, because he's a right petrol head through and through. He's obviously gone out and tried to buy a project car. He's fallen in love with this, and how could you not? This is a 75 Citroen ME6, and if you look inside, it's got a McLaren F1 steering conversion. So it comes complete with these rather lovely refurbished wheels, and bizarrely, the steering wheel has been disconnected. So all the parts are there, it needs putting back together. So Drew's basically bought this and got bored, that's what's happened there. But I can see why he bought it, because it's particularly level. You can see this has got the Drew Pritchard trademark patina here, look, but nothing structural. And they're just super rare. I have no idea how many of these are left, but I can't imagine it's very many. It is a left-hand drive car. It's showing 85,000 miles on the speedo. It's from France, obviously, they all are, but this hasn't actually lived in France, this one. Original factory radio. I think this car screams potential, doesn't it? The steering does work. It just needs the bottom bracket rear fixing and some bolts putting in. So if you have any mechanical knowledge at all, I think you'll do well with this, but Drew's put it in at no reserve. It's going to be a lot of fun, huge amount of potential. And don't forget, most of the bits for this are off other Citroens, so it's not a difficult car to look after. Onto this bit of fun, Ford Cortina, 1600E, E for Executive, the one that everybody wanted in period. This is a 1970. We're calling it a time warp car on the listing. For me, time warp is one that's come through time, looking very much as it did in the day. I would say this is exceptionally genuine barn find condition. So this will need a little bit of a love, a clean and a polish, but I think underneath all of that dust is actually a very nice car. Let me open the door for you guys so you can see inside. So it's been with the same family since 1992. So two previous owner, but what I really like about it is everybody in period was putting vinyl roofs on these, and I think they've dated horribly compared to the people that were clever enough to do non-vinyl roof. So you could do a vinyl roof delete, and this very discerning punter did exactly that, because you've got these much nicer badges and the smooth roof instead. Don't you think it looks better for it? So that will go to £7,000 to £8,000. These cars, when they're restored, can easily be 30 odd now, so I think that would be a great project. And the car is all there, exceptionally level. It will need some paint and bits and pieces. You can see there's some imperfections on the car. It's just starting to go through on the tops of the doors. But I think it'd be a lot of fun just to actually clean that off, tidy it up a bit, get it running perfectly, and just run it as it is. Barn find. Moving on to this S-Type, one of my favourite Jaguars. Everyone raves about the Mark 1 and the Mark 2. I actually prefer the Mark 10 and the S-Type. I think they're a nicer looking car. This is a 64. It's been with the current owner for 40 years, can you believe? Only two former keepers. It's a UK market car. It's had a recent interior refresh, which I must show you because it's lovely. Have a look in there. That's not the door sticking, that's my clumsiness. There you go, look at that. That just says, big money. Loads of invoices, new set of redesigned tyres. But I don't know what was spent on that interior, but I would say thousands looking at it. Isn't that fabulous? Look. They had a radiator recall and new leads in 2022. You can see these are a big motor, aren't they? Even by today's standards, that's a long car. The boot on that wherever you're going, whether it's a touring holiday with your family, whether it's to the golf club, maybe it's picnic hampering with the wee ones, it will fit in the back of an S-Type. We've estimated that at 16 to 18. I think there's a lot worse ways you could travel for that money. Moving on to this, potential bargain here. I do love a Boxster. They're still languishing in the kind of area where you can buy a nice car for not daft amounts of money. This is a 2001 3.2, the one you want. It has a factory hardtop, ladies and gents, which is well worth having. 57,000 miles only. Tiptronic, which is maybe not the purest driving choice, is actually probably the nicest to live with for a cruiser. Low mileage, lovely colour combination, great extras on this one as well, and just ready to go. Just basically polish it, put fuel in it, insure it, and have some summer fun. If you've never driven an early Boxster, the balance of these things is exceptional. They really are. I know all the jokes about hairdresser's car, poor man's Porsche, rubbish. They're just exceptional driver's cars and an awful lot of fun. But that is it. That is all of our cars. That's video 3 of 3. Make sure if you see anything you like, go on the website, register to bid at manorparkclassics.com. Or come and see us in person. If you're watching it today, the day the videos have gone out, you've still got 2 days to come and see us in person and actually view the cars as all these wonderful people have done. And hopefully I'll see you in person or online on Saturday, the 10th of June. But thanks for watching. There's one more bike video after this.